So why is it said that Bitcoin is a meritocracy? Well, it's said that Bitcoin's a meritocracy because everyone has the ability to prove themselves and to rise up based on their being accountable, fully accountable for their actions, and then being fully committed to taking full responsibility for any and all actions that they take. And then as a consequence of that, they can either rise, they can sink or they can swim. And they fully acknowledge that, and they take on that responsibility and they act accordingly and they move forward with that knowledge. Now, one of the factors that makes Bitcoin a meritocracy is that there's no one to run to if you lose your Bitcoin or if you happen to take an irresponsible step. So if you don't secure your private key, for instance, you allow it to get leaked, that other entity would then have access to your Bitcoin. If you don't use the proper custodian, if you happen to keep it like on a Coinbase or something and you haven't done your own personal research and one of those institutions gets hacked, you understand that there's a risk that you might lose your Bitcoin and there would be no recourse. So Bitcoin's a full meritocracy, and this is one of life's a give and take. There's always a series of pros and cons. And so with Bitcoin, you have the option to be fully independent, but are you ready to be fully independent when there's no bank or customer service line to run to when you have an issue? So like if your credit card gets fraudulently charged or you make a erroneous transaction or something, there's at least someone to have a dialogue with. If you call, American Express or something like that, just as an example. If you call Chase, you can be like, you can explain your sob story to them and they might open up a case for you. There's no one at the other end of the line with Bitcoin if you happen to take an irresponsible step or make a mistake, an honest mistake. So be aware that it's a meritocracy because it's fully on your shoulders. You know what you're signing up for as an adult. You take that responsibility fully on your shoulders and you're no longer able to blame anyone else. If you want the freedom of it being decentralized and you want it to get away from fiat, you have to take the good with the bad. You have to take the light with the dark. So that's why Bitcoin's a meritocracy. And one thing that's interesting is that nowadays, in a world that largely runs from series of meritocracies, and what do I mean by this? I mean that oftentimes you'll find that today there's a lot of ways for you to be able to skirt responsibility. So what do we see out of some people in the world today? We see that some people have the victim mindset and they're like, I can't do this or that thing because of my skin color. They say, I can't do this or that thing because I'm prejudiced against, someone discriminated against me based on this factor, XYZ, whatever it might happen to be. I can't do this because I'm from a lower income neighborhood and, such and such person was mean to me. They did it to me. It wasn't my fault. They did it to me. Now I need a safe space because I feel sad. My fragile emotions are hurt and I need to blame that party. It wasn't me not having worked hard. It wasn't me not having have done my research. It wasn't me not having had mental fortitude. It was that person. Let me assign blame. It was their fault. They made me do it. It was all them. But Bitcoin fully makes you take all responsibility on your shoulders, right? Think about it. If you use an offline cold storage, a personal cold storage wallet, what's recommended for everybody to do, or at least research it, do what's right for you. But if you don't enter the information perfectly and accurately, you might mistakenly send your Bitcoin, if you're moving it off of an exchange and you want to self-custody it onto your cold storage, if you enter the wrong information, there is a chance that you could send it to the wrong wallet. Your Bitcoin would then vanish and it'd be at the possession of that other person. You would have to carefully and very meticulously, thoughtfully, slowly evaluate, analyze, and do everything very carefully to make sure that your funds go to your proper storage location. So again, everything comes back to, it keeps getting centered back to that idea of you are responsible for your actions. There's no longer a party to cry to. And these are some of the positives and negatives that come out of a system that is fully decentralized and is based on a meritocracy. But one of the positives out of this is that everyone has the chance to get involved in Bitcoin. It's fully democratic. Anyone can become part of the community. Bitcoin is for everybody, large and small institutions. No one's excluded from it. Anyone who does the research and wants to come into the fold, they have the option to do so. So just remember that self-reliance is one of the shining factors of Bitcoin, and maybe it's something that intimidates you away from it. Maybe that's the reason a lot of people haven't adopted it, but be prepared to deal with the ramifications of system that makes you self-reliant and responsible fully for your actions.